as you can see, I clearly am not Gonzo. I'm much better looking, and his beard is not this full. Okay, so I just want to get that out the way. I'm not Gonzo. I am Jay McLovin off of Unscripted, the morning show, and wherever else they will allow my ignorance to be displayed. Um, it's good to be here. I am hosting Afternoon Blitz. I got some really damn good ass analysts on here. I'm going to start my right and go all the way to the left. And again, this is good, better, and best. So if I'm good, I'm going to give you better and stat guy. Yeah, that's right, stat guy. You've been demoted a little bit because I haven't seen you in a hot minute, and you got to build your credibility back up. So right now, but you're better than me. So just take that for what it is. You're better than me. Again, you're the guy that knows all the stats, no doubt about it, man. You got this memory that's I swear to God, it's incredible. You got you got this Intel processor that's just amazing. How's it going, my brother? I know you just had your surgery, and I'm glad everything is good. I know you said you were in some pain. I apologize.
A lot of pain,
but man, it's good to see you, brother.
A lot of pain, but good to be here, Jay.
Well, hopefully that pain doesn't affect your knowledge. Let's try to keep it. And by the way, the hairline is still looking really good, man. Still looking damn good. Deontay, you are in the best position, man. Again, I say the best for last. How's it going, my brother?
I'm good, Jay. I'm good. What up, stat guy? It's
How much,
crazy. It's a crazy day in sports, a crazy week in sports, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
I forgot to tell you, I told you I was right. I told you they was going to appeal.
Yeah, we'll start off with the Deshaun Watson thing. I think that's the most, and then we'll kind of get into some Brittany a little bit, and then we'll kind of delve into some other things as we go along. But we'll start off with Deshaun. So yeah, man, Gonzo was saying that the NFL would be stupid, and I guess specifically he's talking about Roger Goodell. And he said it'd be stupid to go back and it make him look weak, his power base, this, that, and the other. And the fact that, Deshaun is not going to appeal it, why would he? I don't think it would benefit him to appeal it. So I think he's going to do the 6 games. But then I said to them, listen, this is Roger Goodell. He's part of the good old boys. All the owners love him. They're the ones that give him his job. So he knows. He knows, number one, that his job is good. He's not worried about that. Maybe his reputation takes a little bit of a hit because maybe the outside world views him as a little bit of weak because he did this. But at the end of the day, those owners, and I'm not going to say specific, but there are a few owners that weren't happy that he only got 6 games. They felt he should have had more. So I think, Roger went back and said, you know what? I didn't get what I wanted from her. I think he put it into her lap thinking that she would, give the 12 games or a year, and it didn't pan out. So now he's got to go back and rectify it. And if the interesting part about it is now that he's going to appeals, he's got an option. He can hear the case himself, or he can appoint someone. Well, he already tried the appointing someone when he gave it to the judge, and that didn't go out exactly like he thought it would. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I say that he's gonna hear it himself, and he's gonna do what I think he wants to do. That's just my opinion. Stat guy, what do you think?
I mean, Watson right now I think is in a lose-lose situation in my opinion because either way he's getting suspended for a certain amount of time. It's going to be 6 games no matter what, and there's a potential that it could be the entire NFL season, and I'm not going to be surprised if it is going to be the entire NFL season. I was shocked to begin with that they only gave him 6 games, and I said right from the beginning he was lucky that he only got 6 games. So now this is kind of the worst-case scenario for him because now it's like, okay, well, now more people are going to hear the case, gives me more of a chance to miss more time. I think there's not a single scenario right now where I see him playing this year. I just don't.
No, I agree. And I really don't think so either. I don't think Rodgers not going to go back and appeal it and not come away with the win. Because if he doesn't come away with the win after he appeals it, now he's really looking bad. So he's got to get this win to salvage what he's trying to do. So which is right. I don't think he appoints someone. I think he hears it. I think it doesn't matter what the hell they say. I think he's going to do that year. I'm with you, Stagger. I think that was Rodgers' mission. I think he's appealing it to make that mission come true. And I think what you're saying is probably going to be one of what is happening. And I think the Cleveland Browns know that. When they made that trade, Deontay, They made that trade understanding that he could get 6
Home at
games
4.
or he could get a year. And the Browns were at
Home
that
at
point
4.
in time willing to take that gamble and say, okay, if he gets a year, he gets a year, at the end of the day. So, Deontay, what do you think is going to happen after all of this?
One, I kind of figured they was gonna appeal because 6 games. Well, when we found out the sources where we thought the NFL wanted to give him 12 games and $8 million, because one, they don't like how Cleveland did the contract with you owe me $1 million, and two, it's a I always said NFL is more prideful. It's like what I seen them do with Tom Brady. When Tom Brady with a deflate game, it started going in his favor. They appealed so Roger Goodell can get it. I understand. There's some coaches, there's some owners that believe, like for example, Jerry Jones believed that Roger Goodell should not be able to give out be the executioner, and he's the only person like he can control all of it after he appeals it. But I know it was a lose situation. It's the fact that I think, yes, the judge agreed that what Deshaun Watson was accused for was egregious and it was crazy unprecedented. They'd never seen it before, but she gave 6 games out the information that the NFL has done previously in personal conduct, because he was never charged criminally and he settled for the rest. I think he won 4 and he settled the rest. He settled like 23 cases. I'm thinking off the top of my head. And so it's basically like NFL was like, oh, he agreed with everything, but they didn't give the result. The NFL, this shows an example. This shows me how the NFL is. The NFL is either it's my way or the highway. And they didn't like the ruling outside the NFL with the 6 games, and they want to give him an indefinite suspension, a minimum of a year, and give him a fine. So they want to give him basically like the death penalty version of what SMU got from college football. They want to give Deshaun Watson like the same thing.
Yeah.
They want to tarnish this. They want to make an example out of him, a huge one.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it is I don't know, but when I see this, number one, me personally, I said based on, number one, okay, look, you don't have to be found guilty to get punished under conduct policy. The fact that he was found not guilty to me is a non-factor because he did settle, out of court with these guys. So once you kind of settle out of court, it's almost like an admission of guilt, but technically you weren't found guilty. So I think something happened. Otherwise, I think Deshaun's going to fight them lawsuits in court if it really didn't happen, right? So he got off the criminal side, but I still think he's on the hook for it because he did settle, which shows some sort of culpability to that. So I think because of that, you have to punish him. Now, how much do you punish him? Look, like I've said this before, man. If a guy Burfict can get 12 games just for targeting, how are we going to give him 6 games on 25 allegations? I'm just saying. I think, to me,
I personally think the NFL.
I think 12 is a perfect number. I think you don't give him the full year, but I think you match what Burfict got, which I think is 12 games. I think 12 games is you're staying consistent with your punishments. Yeah. Does anybody want to see him get suspended 12 games? No. But at the end of the day, you got to have some sort of consistency in your punishment giving. And I think 12 games would have made it consistent.
I think half the season. I don't think 12 games. I think half the season with a big fine, probably like a $4 to $6 million fine. I would have been okay with
that. If you want to give him, half the season and a fine, okay, that that levels the playing field.
I think it killed them where they didn't. I think they would have wouldn't have said them if they would have gave him a fine also with the suspension.
Home at 4.
I think the issue I have with Goodell at this point is, when he got the 6 games from the judge, the NFL players are the NFL should have just left it alone. Say, hey, look, okay, we didn't get what we wanted, but it is what it is, and we're going to honor it and move on.
I think
at this point,
I'm the same way.
With Goodell appealing it, and then, and if he does want it, I'm going to tell you right now, if he gives it to the third party, unless a third party, admitting it to appeal, then I'll be like, okay, it's not a wish hunt. But if Goodell winds up hearing this case himself, then you almost have to think, okay, this is a witch hunt, a personal vendetta of Goodell against him, and it's taken away from what he actually did and making it something else.
That's why. I 100% agree. I think how the NFL appealed it because it was 6 games. I honestly, people are gonna think, oh, it's a vendetta. You decided, hey, you lost your part. But the thing is, it was like I seen it with the Brady case. I seen it with Zeke. The NFL. You Dang, we say the move was stupid. We just think how it looks. The NFL has a vendetta.
Bill, that decision. What? No, what? No. If you watched it, this is the final end all be all. If Goodell hears the case, whatever Goodell levies out, that's the end all be all. If he gives it to a third party to try it, then it's still an end all be all. Once whatever comes out of this appeal is what's going to take effect. So, and which is why I'm telling you, if Goodell does this on his own, then it shows that he's got a vendetta. It shows that he has a hidden agenda. It's a witch hunt against him. If he gives it to a third party, it's still kind of shady, but at least it gives somebody else and not on him. And then you can say, okay. And then, it is what it is. But, yeah, stat guy, man. What do we make of it?
It's like what stat guy said. It's a lose-lose situation for Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a lose-lose situation for Watson, man.
He got his his legacy's tarnished. It will never be the same again. We all can admit that. And
well, now let's not take too much off of Watson. Look, what Watson did, he put his own damn self in that.
Yeah, he did.
He's getting what he put himself in there for.
I
was
agree.
talking about the punishment side of it. The punishment side of it is, to me, is not being handled right. But Watson's still culpable for what he's done. I mean, come on.
I think there should be more rules, like on paper.
Well, there definitely
here's the problem with Damien's comment right there. They should suspend him for every victim. Well, here's the thing. Allegations is not a victim.
Yeah.
And without physical evidence that he did this to however many allegations came out, you really can't say that he did this to everybody. Do I think that he did it to some of them? Yes, I do. But I'm not going to go here and say he did it to every single count that was against him. Because there's no evidence showing that he even.
If you want to go that route, then the more plausible thing would be for everyone he's settled with.
Yeah.
The game for everyone he's settled with.
Yeah.
That route.
Because some he was found they couldn't criminally take him to trial.
The thing that I'm worried more so with Watson this year is, we remember back when Brett Favre and Kurt Warner had that bounty scandal on them when the Saints were headhunting him.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm terrified for Deshaun Watson this year because I'm not going to be surprised if teams cheap shot the heck out of him.
Well,
just because of how violence against women, sexual assault against women, and how people take to that. I'm not going to be surprised at all if when he does play, he's going to get lit up and cheap shot all season long.
Stat guy, I said this earlier, previously with Gonzo on the last time we kind of talked about this before the ruling came down against him. And Deontay, I don't think you were on the show at that time, but what I said was, what I strived was, is the NFL needs to come up with an SOP for punishments. Mm-hmm. Come up with an SOP for punishments. If you commit this crime, this is what you can expect. If you commit this crime, this is what there needs to be a set precedent game that's in writing, and it needs to be 2 ways. One, if you're convicted, okay, this is what the punishment is. If you're not convicted, but it falls under the conduct policy, then this is what you can expect. But it needs to be something, rather than doing a case-by-case basis, which it seems like what's what the NFL is doing.
Yeah, the fact that Ridley got suspended more games than Watson for doing something that's not even close to doing what Watson did is baffling.
Exactly. And that's why I think they need to put something in writing. It needs to be the NFL Players Association with the NFL and have a third party, run the dictation of it. And then those two sides need to come together and figure out what that SOP looks like for games suspended or whatever the punishment is for that specific crime. You know what I'm saying? That way, you don't have to put it in Roger Goodell's hand. You don't have to put it in the judge's hand. You don't have to put it in anybody's hand. If the guy's convicted of betting, you go straight to the policy. What does policy say? And then that's what he gets. And everybody gets the same damn policy or same damn thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the fact that you're leaving it up to somebody for conduct policy, whatever, I mean, to me, that's just too subjective. And there just needs to be one standard for punishment. That's, in my opinion, that's just me.
I agree.
Man, I'll tell you, hey.
100% agree.
So I guess we can, if he does get the year, I'm gonna slide the Browns down to last damn place, man. Because Brissett, I don't trust Brissett to lead these Browns. I think the Browns are gonna be.
Well, if you look at the Browns' first 6 games too, there's a
Yeah,
good
they
shit.
only have
I
like
mean,
what
I
two?
don't see them going better than 2-4 in their first 6 games, and there's a shot that they can go 1-5. And at that point, if you're 1-5, you could very easily be 3 games out of the playoff hunt by that point. Do you bring in Watson and hope he saves the season? Otherwise, what's the point of even bringing him in if you're not going to make the postseason at that point?
Yeah. Other than I would say that I would want to be able to bring him in just to give him some game time conditioning. Not that it's going to matter for that year, but definitely, going into next year, it kind of gets him back into the play of things so he can start taking some hits, start taking some game action, get his timing, things like that down. They still need to kind of get something like that going for him. So this year might not necessarily be the Browns' year for a Super Bowl, but it could be a year that sets them up for success come next year. The problem is, how much money now is Deshaun going to lose? Because originally in the 6 games, he was going to lose $345,000. But if he gives out a whole year, that's got to be quite a bit of money.
I think everybody came to a realization that he's most likely going to get the year.
Right.
The question is how big the fine's going to be.
Oh yeah, and I don't even think the NFL side of it is the worst part for him. The worst part for him is his endorsements and things beyond football that he's going to be missing out on. Because nobody's going to put him in ad campaigns, given his reputation is taking such a hit that I don't think he's going to lose out on a lot of endorsement dollars and other job opportunities outside of the NFL.
State Farm's going to put him in an advertisement.
Huh?
I said State Farm will put him in an advertisement, just like what they do with Baker Mayfield, except instead of Baker Mayfield running Cleveland Stadium as his house, Watson's going to show up with papers showing that he's a registered sex offender.
Oh, wow. State Farm, there you go, brother. That's definitely what you want to do. Wow. All right.
It's just that's like, I don't know, the Watson thing. I just think the NFL took too long for everything. I think it's like what you said. They need some type of documentation, but it's the allegations. I understand it's 24, 25 people, but he's not been charged criminally in his allegations. So people come like, this is 6 games. Like some people compare it to the Ben Roethlisberger case, where it was allegations for him too, and he got 6 games. Just because I think they need to change the rule what it has to do. Like, what sexual assault should be its own thing instead of just player personal content. If allegations are like that and it's certain things like that, it kind of affects the integrity of the game also too.
Well, that's right. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. So, the fact that he settled it, like I said, it shows culpability of that. So in my opinion, under the conduct policy, if how do you give a guy for targeting more games than a guy who's got sexual assault allegations? To me, it doesn't compute. It doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't add up. I mean, the severity of targeting and the severity of allegations, whether there's evidence or not, to me, a conduct means, okay, what are you bringing, to the NFL in terms of, are you being an upstanding citizen? And the minute they put allegations on you, the minute you are in a hotel getting massages and there's 25 women, like if there's 4 or 5, okay, maybe you can say, you know what, these women are just, but 25 is a damn amount. And then he settles on 23 out of the 25. To me, that's enough for me to say, okay, he definitely has, I don't think he behaved in the right way for the NFL. So I'm going to give him a sentencing. Now I got to figure out what's more damaging, this versus women or targeting, which is probably just on one individual. And it could have been, I don't know, man. I just have a hard time because the crimes just aren't the same. And one, to me, and I think in American culture, one is obviously more, important in terms of, severity than the other, in my opinion. That's just crazy, man. Crazy world we live in. And I don't think it's going to get any better Deontay, like we talked about, stat guy. I don't think it gets any better until they come up with an SOP that can make it, fit the mold.
Right.
I
I
think we're going to
honestly
see more
think
of these issues come about.
I agree too. I think it's gonna be a hopefully. I think with the Deshaun Watson thing, I think the NFL, which I will give him, they're trying to give out a suspension and a fine that is he will not do. Nobody ever will do this again.
And
That's what I would
it
do.
wasn't 66 women either, dude.
Yeah, I know.
You're talking about. They're talking about like it was 66 women in 17 months. That's what New York Times posted, but there's no 100%.
Yeah, well, if you believe what the New York Times says,
Yeah,
then
I don't believe anything.
you have an issue there because your
The
New York
city of
Times
New
is
York.
garbage.
Yeah, New York is the city of New York is filled with lies. But I'm sorry, I hate the city of New York. I hate New
One of
York.
these days, no, I'm not going to say it. I can't say that because New York. Hey, let's move on real quick. Let's get into this. The next biggest thing, obviously, out there that everybody's talking about. It's all over Facebook. I mean,
It's all over like
Facebook, the
social
first
media,
20
honestly.
posts are all about Brittany Griner. The first 20 posts. When I opened up my Facebook this morning, and I'm scrolling through, just see what's all going on.
Can I just correct Damien's comment quick?
No, go ahead, brother.
So what he's referring to with the 66 women, Deshaun Watson booked 66 different women for massages between 2019 and 21, but only the 25 actually accused him of doing stuff.
Right.
So he had massages booked with 66 different women, but only 24 or 25 came forth and said that he did anything. So right there, less than half of the women that he had massages with are saying he didn't do anything. So that's kind of where the whole slippery slope comes now, where of these 25 that are accusing him of doing something, how many are actually accurate, and what are they saying that he actually did?
Right.
Because if there's still 40 women saying that he didn't do anything wrong, well, then you got to ask those 40 women if what Watson did when they were giving him massages were the same thing that the other women were getting, and just the other women thought it was inappropriate.
Yeah, you don't want to play that. I agree, Saga. You don't want to play that game because you start asking the people that didn't accuse, they're gonna say the same thing, which is gonna minimize it and everything. It would have worked in probably Watson's favor, but it would have also been longer. I think Watson's at the point now he just wants to play football.
Exactly.
And he will deal with anything that comes with it. If he's suspended this year, he's probably thinking, yeah, I'm going to lose $1 million. I ain't going to lie. I would think that if I was him. But he's also going to get that fine. But that's the thing. I would say they suspend him. At least they suspend him a year. Don't do indefinitely. I think indefinitely is like, really, that's like for multiple offenders, honestly. Like multiple offenders that get in trouble with the NFL. I think Deshaun Watson learned his lesson. His legacy's tarnished. He's never going to do it again. I pray. That's just me being a person giving second chances. But I don't think if indefinite is fair, I think the year would be more fair. Year in suspension and you're losing like $8 million. I think that's
again, so he's losing a lot more than what people are talking about. I mean, he's losing the football money, he's losing the fine money, but like I said, he's also losing endorsement money. I mean, this really is quite lucrative.
No, because he probably he's gonna get some crazy amount of endorsements too.
Yeah.
So he's probably losing. I'll guess he'll probably lose like $20 or $30 million this year.
And that's my point. There's money out there that he's not going to be able to collect on because of this. So, I mean, people don't realize, man, hey, the NFL does their part. But if you look at the NFL side of it, in terms of economic dollars, that really is the small potatoes. The bigger potatoes are the outlying contracts that he missed out on with endorsement deals. I think that's really, what's going to hurt him. I mean, look at Tiger Woods, 120 million on golf, but his billions came from endorsements. So
same thing with LeBron. LeBron didn't make that. LeBron made a lot of money playing basketball. So did Michael Jordan, but their money is basically outside the court. Endorsements, everything.
It's all outside. Everybody knows corporations is where the money's at. Working for these corporations, that's where these athletes really make their money.
Yeah, become their partners. So he's like,
So,
I agree with you. I didn't think of it like that. I'll give you that. I didn't think of it like that. He's losing probably like $20 million this year from endorsements. He's probably gonna lose. He's probably gonna pay a fine, most likely. $8 million is crazy because they're trying to. Because my thing about the $8 million, because most NFL fines be like 50,000, 100,000. They're making it a crazy example out of him. Like this is gonna be.
yeah.
This is
And
probably
that's
going to
why
be
I tell
the
athletes,
worst
man, hey, listen.
suspension ever. I think it's probably going to be the worst suspension to hit somebody with. You getting fined
I
and
hope
suspended?
the takeaway for athletes is, hey, if you got to get massage,
Be safe.
you gotta do
Have
something
a
like that,
plan.
do it at the facility. Do it where people are present. Then you won't have to worry about any allegations because you're doing it in a professional environment. I mean, if you're making that kind of money, you really have to protect yourself and do the right things. And a lot of these athletes, I think sometimes they feel like they're untouchable or whatever, but they're
I have
not.
to hit my Army slogan, what they told us in the safety brief. Have a plan. If you're going to do something, have a plan.
Hey, here's what I'm thinking. If you're going to a damn hotel to get a massage when you could have got a massage at your house, you better have somebody else.
That's another thing that they got. It was like you're Deshaun Watson. You're making like $100 million. You could have your own personal masseuse.
Yeah. You know what they say? The first one to the telephone, the other one's going to jail.
That is true.
I'm just gonna put that out there. That's my dad. My daddy always said, "Boy, let me tell you something. First one on the telephone, the other one's going to jail. So just make sure you're quick, or have it on speed dial." Hey, look, man. So let's talk Grinder. So she got 9.5. She got 9.5 years. Which I said this on the other show. I said she's going to get convicted. She's not walking out of this thing scot-free. She's going to get convicted. Now, the sentencing, I didn't know, but I damn sure knew she's getting convicted. And here's the deal. She had to get convicted, like I said earlier, for Russia's sake, man. Russia had to convict her and to use her as leverage to make a deal with the U.S. If they simply let her go, then Russia have no leverage, okay? And again, like to Jonathan's point, it's not about skin tone. I mean, you could put that in there, but really it's about popularity. I think if Brittany Griner is anybody else in life, black, white, transgender, LGBTQ, whatever you want to stack on there, it doesn't matter. She's just locked away and forgotten about. Just like Mark Vogel, 14 years, same damn thing, small amount of pot, small. 14 years locked, forgotten about. Nobody ever knew about Mark, and he got sentenced before she did. So again, nobody knows about Mark Vogel. Nobody. And Brittany, if she's not an athlete, if she's just let's just say a tourist over there who had weed in her luggage and they found it, they're gonna throw her in their thing, and nobody's ever talking about it. Nobody's ever gonna know about it. It just is. It's just nothing. It doesn't exist. But she's Brittany Griner. She has celebrity status. That is something that Russia can use to get what they want because they know the American people. There's going to be political pressure. So for all the stuff on Facebook that I say about this, that, and the other, come on, man. Let's just call it what it really truly is. And here's the deal too, man. I see people. Well, we got to get her back. We got to. The Rush, we need to do whatever we can to get it back. Make the prisoner swaps. Do this, do that. Well, okay, that's great. And that sounds nice. But here's the problem with that. You've already done one prisoner swap. Biden's already done one prisoner swap for the other Marine. Now, if he does a second prisoner swap with Griner, now you set a precedent that America is willing to trade for whatever it is you want when you get our people. So now you're opening up Pandora's box for more Americans to get taken under traps. Now you're going to get more prisoner swaps because you've already set the precedent. So it doesn't just stop with Brittany Griner. It actually escalates with Brittany Griner. How far does it escalate? Well, if you give up the Russian arms dealer, terrorist supporter, now you're putting money out there for terrorism, which comes back to the American soul. Now you're talking about innocent American lives that are going to be lost because of Brittany Griner, her release. On top of that, now you got more prisoners that are going to be taken, more targets that are going to be out there for Americans, to where it's going to be even hard to go internationally because now they're going to be looking to take you in. How much more you want to put out there? Because it doesn't just stop with Brittany. It's not just that simple. It's not that cut and dry. So is one person's life worth that many? I don't think so. That's just my point, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox on it. Brittany Renner got 9.5 years. Fair, not fair? What are we thinking? Deontay, or Stat Guy? I'm gonna go right to left on every damn thing. Stat Guy, fair, not fair? What are we thinking?
I mean, if you're going based off of Russia's policy and Russia's rules, it's fair, but
Right.
it's not fair. There's not even with people that go there for 14 years for the same thing. Because you have to look at it in the United States, how many places is marijuana legal now? I mean, I granted Russia has different rules and whatnot, and if she really didn't know that she had it in her bag, I'm not going to say she knew. I'm not going to say she didn't know. But when you're an athlete going to a different country, and like even if the policies are different there, Russia has to understand that she's coming from a country where it's allowed.
No, they
She's
don't.
coming from a country
No, they
that.
don't. No, they don't. Justin, no, they don't. They don't have to do shit.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, like,
And that's the problem I see. No, I want to start. That's the problem I see on Facebook with people. Everybody thinks that just because America is so lax on our punishments with marijuana now, that everybody else should be. Well, it doesn't work like that. That's not the way the rest of the world works. And I've been around the world. I've been to every damn country you could think of with the Army and the Navy. I mean, literally every damn one. And every other place out there does not have our laws. And that's the problem America has to understand. It's just because you live in the greatest country in the world, and we do. We live in the greatest country in the world. All the other countries out there don't see and don't think like we think. And you have to understand that once you leave these borders, okay, you're not in the greatest country. Now you're in their country, and you have to understand and abide by what they do, or you're subject. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
Justin, we have to understand that, brother.
I don't know. It's such a touchy subject for me just because I don't think she should have been convicted at all. I think she should have been fined, and I think she should have been deported and then pretty much just banned from leaving the United States again. That I think would have been punishment enough to her because the reason she's playing or the reason why she wanted to play in Russia was to make more money because she wasn't making enough money playing the WNBA here. And that's a topic for another day where the women don't get paid enough to play in the WNBA in the United States as it is. But I think that would have been more punishment enough to her would have been just to deport her back to the United States and basically say you can't leave the country anymore.
You know, I'll tell you this. Did you know that in Singapore, true story, and I've actually seen somebody get arrested for it. In Singapore, if you spit your gum out onto the street, it will take you to jail. Now, what the punishment is, I'd have to look it up. But you actually get put in jail just for spitting gum on the street in Singapore. My point is this. Yes, does it seem to an American who has not gone abroad that it seems, whatever? Yeah, I get that. But when you're in somebody else's homeland, they don't see like we see. They don't think like we think, especially in Russia, for crying out loud, who we all know is doing everything they can to invade other countries and do other things. I mean, it's crazy. Deontay, man, fair, not fair? What are we thinking?
I'm kind of with you. I think it can be both. One, they're in a different country's law, and even when you're even touring places, they tell you, "Hey, make sure this happens because this can happen, this can happen, this can happen." And I'm also think 9 years is far best, but as an American, in American law, 9 years is crazy. I don't know the law. I can't say I particularly know all the laws in Russia. All I can say is, yes, she was playing basketball there, and it sucks that WNBA doesn't get paid enough. That's due to revenue, but that's a different topic. But two, I think it's like if you're in a country where just prior before she got arrested, America stripped some of Russia's resources that we give them. They took away shells there. McDonald's. They're aiding Ukraine millions, billions of dollars. And you find an American that is, I think they figure out this will probably be the perfect target because she's a woman that's an African American as a popular basketball player. So it's going to bring a storm and it's going to bring an uproar in our country to get us divided. And I feel bad that Brittany, I do. I wish she would not got 9 years because 9 years is a long time. That's almost a decade. But also, you have to. I also agree with. I also got to go with we're in Russia. They're in Russia. Russia's rules is way different, and we just stripped all these things away. You think they're gonna give us Brittany Griner with ease? You think we ask them, hey, can we get Brittany Griner back? And they're gonna say no. And also they're talking about if a lot of people say if Donald Trump was president, he would have got her out. Donald Trump couldn't either. It's a slippery slope. It's divisive. That war divided Russia and America. Something would have been different if America did not do anything with the Ukraine Russia. They would have just let them, if it would just stayed how it was, which I believe Ukraine got a lot of different resources. So in the NATO, everything, that's a different topic also. But also, yeah, you can't do nothing if they instilled money inside of Ukraine. So Russia's thinking how we would think. You put money into our enemy that we're trying to conquer, so you're the enemy. So you think we're gonna negotiate fairly? They're gonna give up. They're gonna ask for the merchant of death. They're gonna ask. They're gonna get trade. Which, if you're any other country, they would any third world country or every other country, they would have did the same thing too. You find I personally believe I gotta agree with I'm an African American too. And I gotta agree with Jay. Do I feel like a terrorist that's basically known for giving out the most destructive thing to kill off the human race, weapons, in exchange for a basketball player? And then something happens, we're gonna go. All we can think about is we traded Brittany Griner and somebody else for the Merchant of Death. I feel bad, but if I was them, I feel bad, but I wouldn't trade that trade that they're trying to do. And America is giving uproar for it because I think the thing about America is also that I want to say, and like our people, Americans and people that like not into politics, people always have a people always have a thing they want to say or a opinion, but they don't know a lot of the facts. So you ask them, so you if you didn't know who this person was, if it wasn't a basketball player that wasn't famous that all the celebrities are saying, would you be like, will we give up an arms dealer for a normal American? They'll say no. So that's my answer.
And that's my point is if you think if you really think about it, like she got 9.5, Vogel got 14. He ain't even a damn celebrity. He got 4.5 more years than her. My point is this, man. Hey, you don't want to start giving out. Okay, if you're a president, if you're Biden, and Biden, like I said, I didn't like the first thing you negotiated when you brought home the Marine. I love Marines. I support the armed forces, but I don't like the fact that we're trading people for people because I did think it sets a bad precedent for the U.S. in terms of having more people get captured and things like that. So again, but at the same time, Biden, you got to be a president. You got to stick up and you got to do what's right. And what's right is how are you going to go out there and take out Zawahiri, the number 2 guy behind bin Laden, to just say you're ending terrorism, but now you're putting up a guy who financially supports terrorism. Like, at what level does that not make sense? Okay, folks, I don't want to give this topic too much more credit than what we've already given it, but it's just something that, everybody needs to think about. Everybody needs to think about what, when you vote for your president, what do you want, man? What do you want America to be? And I don't think letting little arms terrorists is one of those things. That's just my opinion. Before I move on, Stat Guy, Deontay, do y'all have any closing remarks on this subject before we move on to something else?
I don't know.
I think they're gonna come up with a way, but I don't think it's gonna be no time soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't know what other leverage Biden could use to convince Putin to let her go outside of a prisoner swap. I don't think America is going to, do any drone strikes on prisons anytime soon. So I think, she's just, if they don't do the prisoner swap, then I see Brittany Griner doing the whole 9.5. I don't think there's anything more that they can possibly do for her at that point. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, what transpires from that. Moving on to other things. Let's talk about football for a minute, man. Hey, uh, what's his name? Is it Patrick? I gotta get his name right. I don't want to say his name wrong. His last name wrong.
Sertan?
No, not Patrick Surtain. It's the other Rams offensive wide receiver, wide receiver Patrick. I guess the last name is Patrick. He tore his ACL.
Oh,
Are you talking Tim Patrick?
Tim Patrick from the Broncos.
Yeah, Tim. I said the Rams. I apologize. I meant the Broncos. But he tore his ACL. So now, and he was supposed to be part of their big three that was going to help Russell. So now I guess they're going to go down to Judy and the other guy. I mean, what is going to be, the long-term effects of his ACL tear? I mean, how does that affect the Broncos offense, or does it affect the Broncos offense? That guy?
I mean, it's going to affect it a little bit, but they still got Jerry Jeudy. They still got Cortland Sutton. They still got KJ Hamler. They still got Melvin Gordon. They still got the guy that filled in for Melvin Gordon last year. I think the bigger loss is losing Noah Fant in that trade with Drew Lock to Seattle, because now who's going to be the Broncos kind of stretch the field tight end that they had last year. But Tim Patrick is a good receiver. He made a lot of plays, but with Russell Wilson there, he's going to be able to make up for that. I just think they're going to have to figure out who's going to replace Noah Fant before they worry about who's going to replace Patrick.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Deontay, my thing is, I think Denver, last year, had they had Russell Wilson then, I think we're looking at Denver in the playoffs, and I think people are taking it seriously because they have a really good defense. They have a good offense. They have a good running game. Now they have the quarterback to back it up. I mean, how much, are we overlooking or underrating Denver? I think Denver's, going to be something special, I think, come out playoffs.
Well, honestly, how I feel about Tim Patrick is he's very good. But you also got to realize, too, stat guy, that I say, Jared Judy's coming back from a ACL also. Javonte Williams is a step up. Javonte Williams is nice. I like Melvin Gordon. I'm a huge Cortland Sutton fan. I think he's very underrated. But I also agree with stat guy, too. The biggest loss that they had, honestly, in my opinion, in that trade was the loss of Noah Fant, because Noah Fant was a very good tight end, and he was very good. And honestly, it's the new coaching. Russell Wilson's there. They would have made the playoffs last year. I just think in the heavy AFC West, you need all the talent you can. You need all the talent that you can. And losing Tim Patrick is gonna be a big loss, but also Noah Fant too. So hopefully they got an idea and they got a plan B.
Yeah, I definitely, I agree with you. And then they got Nathaniel Hackett in there. I don't know enough about Hackett to really say that he's not the right coach for them.
He'll be gone. He'll be gone in one season.
Yeah, I don't think anything. Yeah. So how do you think? Okay, so stat guy, how do you think Broncos fare under him this season? What do you expect out of him? Like, where do you think they finish? Do they make the playoffs?
I think they make the playoffs. I think they finish last in the AFC West, but that's not saying much because I think the entire AFC West makes the playoffs anyways.
Right.
But I think Hackett's going to be gone after 1 year, regardless of how the Broncos do, just because he was brought there for one reason. He was brought there to have Aaron Rodgers follow, and now that they didn't get Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson is kind of like the consolation prize, which it's a great consolation prize, but that's not why you hired Nathaniel Hackett. You hired Nathaniel Hackett to bring Aaron Rodgers and that Green Bay Packers offense to Denver. You're not going to be able to run that offense with Russell Wilson. I think that's ultimately what's going to get Hackett fired, because they're going to need to hire somebody that can run a different offense, because Wilson cannot run that same offense that Green Bay had.
I agree. I want to talk about the Cowboys just for a second, not because it's my team, but because, I've seen some reports kind of come out already, about, Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think they're saying, and now they're talking about doing a running back by committee. And I'm thinking, like, you just gave this guy like $100 million damn, and we're talking about running back by committee. So now that tells me that Dallas doesn't believe that Zeke can do it on his own, that he needs help. And now I'm starting to think now that Tony Pollard is more, the guy in the running game than Zeke is. I kind of think it goes Pollard, Zeke, and whoever else they have besides Zeke in that thing, which to me now tells me, if I'm Jerry, do I start looking to move Zeke and see if I can get picks for him or a trade for him or whatever. I mean, what do you think, Stat?
I haven't been sold on Zeke for a while. I
Right.
mean, outside of his first 2 years in the league, what really has he done?
I agree.
I mean, he hasn't lived up to his contract. When he gets a chance to play, he might get 100 yards, but he gets it on 30 carries. And 3 yards a carry is not going to get it cut in the NFL. And then you have a guy like Tony Pollard who was averaging 4.7, 4.8 yards per carry last year. I think Dallas realized last year that Ezekiel Elliott is expendable, especially when you have a guy like Tony Pollard.
The
No, I
thing
totally
is,
agree with you. Again, after watching him last year, I just felt like, you know, I don't know. I mean, Jerry's got to be thinking to himself, "Damn, I gave this guy $100 million and he ain't shit. Now I got to do a running back by committee, and I gave this guy all this damn money. Like, what the hell, Deontay?"
yeah, I agree. First off, you paid him a lot of that money for him to be running back by committee. Him and Tony Pollard, I like the Thunder and Lightning thing that they did with Tony Pollard and him. I think that would be very helpful. Zeke, since like 2016, 2017, he hasn't been the same guy. I mean, he cracked 1,000 yards, but he barely did that, and it's 1,000 yards. I just
Right.
think, I think now the Dallas Cowboys are at the point that they're really gonna try to just use Dak, give Dak like Dak. They're gonna say he's a $40 million man for a reason. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of Noah Brown. You'll be seeing a lot of CeeDee Lamb. You'll be seeing a lot of what is it, Jalen? I keep forgetting his name. It's the second one.
I can't remember that guy's name either. To be honest with you.
I just think the Dallas Cowboys is gonna be. I think Mike McCarthy, how they're gonna be successful. Mike McCarthy legit got to be in a good play calling space, but Dallas with Zeke Elliott out. If I'm Jerry Jones, I'm thinking we got to find a way to get rid of him, and there got to be some sucker that will get him and pay that contract.
Yeah, I think at this point, if I'm Jerry, I'm looking to trade Zeke, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not. I need to offload this money because it goes against the cap, and I'm losing a lot of cap to a guy that's in a running back by committee. No, that's bullshit. Let me go ahead. Hey, I'm gonna take my L. Maybe I gotta eat some of the contract. Okay, I'll eat some of the contract, but I'm looking to trade and move on from Zeke, and let's see what else we can find in the draft come in the upcoming drafts because I think they're like Stat Guy said, man. I mean, you're paying a lot of guy for a running back by committee, and I just think that's just ridiculous. And I think Dallas needs to. I think Jerry needs to own that mistake. Trade him, see what you can get, and then let's move on from it. Yeah, craziness. And then you
And
look
then
at
and the sad part is when you look at all of the 1,000-yard rushes in the NFL last year, there was 7 1,000-yard rushers last year. Ezekiel Elliott was the seventh, but he was also only one of two that played 17 games, and he only ended up with 1,002 yards. So he barely got to that 1,000-yard mark, and if there wasn't that 17th week, he doesn't get it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. My other question too, I'm going to kind of move on real quick is to Miami, and it's not. And my question is not going to be about the draft picks. I think we've kind of talked about, what Miami is going to face, in the draft picks and whatnot. My more concern is the Brian Flores situation in terms of, his lawsuit is still out there. They haven't reached a ruling on that. So again, Miami is paying for the tampering. Now we gotta talk about the Flores. If it comes to fruition, what will if it's found in Brian Flores' favor, what if anything will that mean to Miami? Like in terms of will they lose picks? Will they lose more stuff? Or
I
do you
think if
think
it goes to
it's a
Flores' favor,
monetary type thing?
if it goes to his favor, Stephen Ross isn't the coach anymore. Isn't the owner anymore.
Okay, that's a good question. Does it remove him?
I think but in the lawsuit, but in the investigation, they were found that they weren't tanking. But I also think they're really looking into Miami now. Like, I think the Tom Brady, I think them trying to get Tom Brady has really opened things up. And I also think the Flores is gonna open it up too. But I think they lost a first round pick this year. I think how this will go is I think they'll lose money from the organization and Stephen Ross will be forced to step down as the owner. I think that'll be the next case because he's suspended until October of this year.
Right.
And I think it's going to be just the end of Stephen Ross as the
Right.
owner of the. I think they're going to get rid of the whole shop though. Everything in the front office. They would get rid of the whole shop if they were there, and I think it would be. I think it would be. I think it's just going to be crazy. I think this is just the beginning with Miami.
No, I definitely agree with you. And let's be honest. We know how hard it is for the African American community to get a head coaching job all on its own. It's incredibly difficult. And then you have an owner who wants to take an African American coach and tank and make him tank or want him to tank. I mean, it's just like, damn, man, how much harder are you trying to make it for that culture to be successful? It blows my mind. And I think he should lose his ownership at that level. I think if you're number one, if you're tanking, number two, you're putting your coaches in that perspective. Number three, you're not doing anything to help advance.
I don't think tanking.
I think there's got to be something.
I don't think tanking just the fact that we know teams are tanking. We knew Miami was tanking.
Yeah,
we knew. We knew a lot of teams are. There's a lot of teams besides Miami. I think the Jets tanked multiple times. I think Indy tanked for Andrew Luck. That could have been an investigation. It's been multiple teams that tanked. So you can't get them for tanking.
Not even just in that sport. Multiple sports tanked.
The Sixers said they were tanking. They told us in our face.
Right now, my Astros tanked. And if you don't believe that bullshit, how you go from being like the top of your division and then you cut all your star players for picks and then you go to 3 100-loss seasons and then all of a sudden now you're back in the World Series.
The Sixers did the
they did.
They admitted to tanking, but they just called it trust the process. Yeah, no, it's just losing. You're just losing.
Hey, we got 4 years of bullshit, and then we'll be back to being competitive again. So just bear with it. And by the way, the scapegoat's going to be Brian Flores, but don't worry about it. It's all good.
So, how you feel, Stat Guy, about Miami and Stephen Ross?
Stephen Ross should have been relieved of his ownership duties last year. Brian Flores should still be the coach in Miami, and that's what it should be.
I think so, too. Brian Flores is very good.
Brian Flores should be gone. I mean, not Brian Flores, excuse me. The owner for the Miamis should be gone, as well as Snyder. Snyder needs to be out of there.
Yep.
Go ahead and move on to Commanders.
I mean, and part of the reason why Brian Flores is gone was he never wanted Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback. He was not sold on him from day one. There's a reason why he stuck with Ryan Fitzpatrick as long as he stuck with Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's a reason why he tried to get Deshaun Watson in Miami because he never trusted Tua. And that didn't sit well with Stephen Ross because that was Stephen Ross's guy. And no matter what you said, Stephen Ross was going to side with Tua being the quarterback of the future. And I think that was kind of the ultimate tipping of the scales of their relationship because the longer that Flores disagreed with that decision, you knew that Ross was eventually going to be like, fine, you don't want my guy as quarterback. You haven't made the playoffs since you've been here. Goodbye.
No, I honestly think Tua would not have been a bad pick and they would not fire Flores. It's the fact that he didn't want Tua. And look what Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow is looking like. And they were drafted before Tua. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow in the future is probably going to be the top 2 best quarterbacks in football.
Oh, absolutely. And here's my thing.
And Tua's at best the top.
The right thing for Miami?
13.
No. They shouldn't, like you said, there were other quarterbacks out there that were much better than Tua and have proven to be much better than Tua that should have been taken at that spot. But let me ask you this question. This is a real question I want to. So, again, you got the owner who wants Tua. You got Flores who wanted probably somebody else. And if Tua, who we know have seen complete 65-yard bombs to Tyreek for touchdowns in video clips, if Tua is able to, number one, stay healthy this year, number two, is proven to be effective as a quarterback, what then does that mean for Flores not willing to work with Tua and stay in that position? I'm just asking the question. If he does do well, does it then strengthen the owner's case to keep Tua versus Flores wanting to get rid of him? Because that's what they say. They say they let go of Flores because he was going against the grain and so forth.
He wasn't confident in Tua. I think everybody figured that.
What's that?
I think everybody figured that the reason Flores was gone, and everybody said it wasn't because of his coaching. It was the fact that he wasn't confident in Tua. And let's be real. We all can be honest. We're not confident in Tua. We don't think Tua is where everybody think. If we think this is Tua's last stop, they do not. if Tua does not perform like he's supposed to, this is his last chance ever being the starting quarterback, in my opinion.
Right.
So this year is gonna break it. So I honestly think this year is gonna show. I think Tom Flores has been. I'm not Tom Flores. Brian Flores has been right the whole time about Tua. I would have still drafted Herbert over Tua. I still like to think Miami as a Chargers fan.
But again, Deontay at the same time, you know, it's easy to say that now because we see what Herbert has done. I mean, you see how successful he has been. So yeah, you can look at the hindsight aspect of it and be like,
Jay,
we'll draft Herbert. But at that time,
Tua probably had the best core of wide receivers ever.
Hey, at the time of the draft, did you really feel about Herbert the way you feel about him now at the draft?
Yes. When I'm a Chargers guy.
Hey, I only trust a man that I can see. I don't trust a man I can't
see. In Oregon, he was very solid. He was a one-man show basically in Oregon, low-key. Him and
you missed that. I meant turn on your video camera so I can look you in the face when you say it.
But no, honestly, you got as a Chargers fan when they said it was Tua. Can I figure out Joe Burrow was gonna go first? I didn't want Joe Burrow. I wanted Herbert to go first. I'll still take Joe Burrow over Herbert. That's just me. I just love Joe for some reason. But when they said we either getting Tua or Herbert, I said I'd rather take Herbert because Tua, as a guy watched the SEC all the time, and let's be real, Alabama, those receivers that they had was arguably the best core receivers that ever come out in college football history. I'm gonna tell you who Tua had at wideout. He had Devontae Smith, best wide receiver season ever. Jerry Jeudy, which was the number one receiver coming out of his draft. They had Jalen Waddle, who was also one of the fast receiver and best receiver. Henry Ruggs, he was the 11th overall pick, but he's arrested now. Those are 4 first-round receivers, and all of them, I'm pretty sure. Stat guy, give me all of them was at least in the top 15.
Yeah.
At least all of them NFL draft, they were top 15 first-round picks.
And you also have the guy that the Detroit Lions drafted this year, that Williams. Wasn't he a redshirt freshman when Tua was there?
Jamison Williams.
And Tua was throwing passes to him too, and he went number 12. So that's 5 first.
It's another thing. Did they have O.J. Howard 1 year too?
They had Irv Smith Jr. Irv Smith Jr. was Tua Tagovailoa's tight end, and he was a second-round pick for the Vikings.
O.J. Howard. And O.J. Howard was a first-round or second-round pick. So the collective, and then in the backfield.
Najee Harris. Josh Jacobs, I think, 1 year.
Yes, Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris. Josh Jacobs played 2 years with Tua. With Najee Harris. You got to realize, Alabama at that time, that roster was crazy.
That roster could have beaten the Houston Texans last year.
Facts. That's an NFL roster. All of them was legit first-round picks. And that was his weaponry. And that's why I'm like, Tua wasn't like that.
And if you remember who the offensive coordinator was that year, Jay, it was Brian Dable.
Right. Speaking of Alabama, I just want to say this real quick. I'm going to say his first name right. John Mechie's first name was John, right?
John Mechie,
yeah.
I just want to make sure I had it right. I knew it was. So I want to say shout out to Mechie and the Mechie family, man. Hey, my heart goes out to you, and I hope and I pray that you are able to overcome this cancer. Obviously, that form of lymphoma, I think leukemia or whatever he has, is curable. They expect a high rate of curability to it and him back on the field. But again, man, my heart goes out to that family. I pray that, he's able to get back on the field and do amazing things for the Texans. I just want to kind of throw his name out there and let him know that his name is still synonymous in my heart.
He went to Ohio State. He transferred from Ohio State.
Yeah, anytime you hear that C word, man, there's this. I don't
care if
it's
C word's
or
a big
not.
thing.
Hey, I don't care if it's or not, right? It's still the C word, and I pray for his fast recovery, man.
Not gonna lie, Ohio State have a crazy receiving core now too. Had a great receiver lineup because John Mechie came from Ohio State and he transferred to Alabama because he couldn't start on Ohio State receiving.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Tua played with a lot of talent. He's playing with a lot of talent now, but Tua, it's the fact that I don't think he's accurate. He's probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. I'll give him that. I ain't gonna say he's the most accurate because there's a guy in Green Bay, but
I think the thing with Miami is you can't write out Tua just yet. We gotta see what he does this year. Like you said, this is his proving year. And I think everybody knows it. I think Tua knows it. Tua knows, hey, look, if I don't come out and do something this year, if I don't stay healthy, if I don't do something to change people's minds, that I'm going to be another Josh Rosen who just kind of gets bounced around from place to place, and I'll just be a forever
I won't say
backup
Josh Rosen.
whatever.
I'll say more Sam Darnold. I wouldn't
And
go
Sam
Josh
Darnold,
Rosen.
you're right. I mean, hey, you're right. I mean, he's gonna be at some level of mediocrity that it's gonna be very difficult for him to come back from. So he knows that this is the year for him.
Because remember when Fitzpatrick was starting, they only lost 3 games, and it was like they was in the playoff race. Tua started.
I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. The Dolphins, if they just have the right guy at the helm, can not. I don't have to win the division because the Buffalo Bills are strong, but I guarantee you. They will be a team to reckon with in the playoffs.
I'll tell you, they're not winning the division.
They got every other damn position, honestly.
I'm telling you, they're not winning the division. I think they could be a 7th seed in the playoffs if Tua plays it right.
Right.
But if you look what they're doing,
you got some white stuff, Deontay, on the left side of your hair. I don't know where it came from, but you might want to check that out. Right. I have my own ideas of where it could have come from, but I don't
chill out, PG. But how it is, I like how I like what the Dolphins doing though.
I'm teasing this in your hair, by the way.
Huh? I hate you.
Man.
But Dolphins offense basically gonna set up. I think is they're gonna do a lot of quick screens. Because Tua don't have an elite arm, so they're gonna do a lot of screens with Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and they're gonna.
You say that. Stat guy, do you hear what he said? He says that, but there's a 65-yard bomb to Tyreek for a touchdown. Come on, how do you say that?
65-yard bomb. The ball only traveled 50 yards though.
Shut your mouth, damn it!
Like Tyreek, like they're gonna do a lot of.
Like quiet.
They're gonna do a lot of smoke screens. I think they're gonna do a lot of smoke screens.
You gotta admit, 50 yards is still 50 yards, and it's still come on, man.
It's still 50 yards, but that's about Tua's max though. He's not gonna throw the ball 55, 60 yards on the fly.
And I get that, but to say that he can't make these long distance throws, at least he's shown that. He's shown that.
Jay, we got dudes out here coming out throwing at the minimum 65, 70-yard bombs.
Look at the throw by Josh Allen to Gabby Davis in the playoffs last year. The ball traveled 74.5 yards on the fly, and he's still almost overthrew Davis.
I'm gonna hurt you now, Deontay. You ready? And that guy too. I'm gonna hurt you guys. When the last time you see Tom Brady do 65-yard bombs? And this guy's got damn 7 rings. Does it matter? He can make
He's
the
meticulous. You can't compare Tua with Tom.
Comparing. I'm just saying. No, I'm not comparing Tua to Brady. That's not.
I know he's smart.
I guess in Tom Brady's defense, though, when was the last time he had a receiver that could go get a 65-yard bomb? Probably Randy Moss. Otherwise, every receiver Tom Brady's had has been Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, and all these little guys that take 5-6 yard passes and turn them into 15-yard games.
Now in Tampa.
Now he is, but I'm saying before he got to Tampa. Yeah, before he got to Tampa, Randy Moss is like the only receiver Tom Brady ever had that could do that.
You don't always have to have the deep bomb to be successful in the NFL. I mean, I think Brady proved that. You can have.
He also had a top 10 defense
things like that to do it, curl routes, whatever the case may be. So,
but Tua's not a.
Well, you can't throw the deep ball. What does he always have to throw the deep ball?
But he also got to look at the coach too. Is there a Bill Belichick on that team? I don't.
Well, they have no. There's not. No, Bill Belichick. Stop saying that crap. Give me another coach. Come on, you know there's not Bill Belichick.
Fine, I'm gonna give you. I'll give you a good one. Is there a Kyle Shanahan on that team? That can.
You went to Kyle Shanahan.
Well, I mean, the head coach came from Kyle Shanahan's tree.
But he's not Kyle.
You could have gone to any number of. You could have said, "Is there a Sean McVay?" Maybe.
Yeah.
I think you said. Is there a Sean Payton over there?
Shanahan's not good.
Kyle Shanahan. You went to Kyle Shanahan.
I love Kyle Shanahan.
He's all right. I had nothing against him. Kyle Shanahan's only downfall is he don't have a quarterback that can actually be a good quarterback. He's had to deal with more of a wildcat.
That's why I said the Dolphins. I don't think Tua. I think Tua is average at best. I think Tua.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not going to put Tua in the elite category. I'm not putting Tua in any damn category. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to reserve what category Tua should be in until after I see him play this year.
Tua should be in the Baker Mayfield category. I'll say it.
I mean, right now I got him in the busted category until he could prove otherwise. And I think this
like I said, I'll take him in the Baker Mayfield category and a little bit above Sam Darnold.
Honestly, to your point, right? I think that if I'm the Dolphins as soon as, and I've said this before, as soon as Jimmy G gets cleared, I'm going to bring Jimmy G in and throw him behind Tua. And the minute Tua starts jacking up and can't do the job, I'm going to throw Jimmy G in there. I'm going to ride Jimmy G out as a gap field quarterback until I can find the right guy.
No, I think Jimmy G's going to Indy.
Yeah.
He may go to Indy. But again, if he goes to Indy, he'd be doing the same damn thing he did in Miami. Matter of fact, he had better options in Miami than he
No, I'm talking about, I think Jimmy G's going to Indy from San Francisco. I think
that's my point. But if he goes to Indy, he's going to sit behind Matt Ryan, is my point. So who would you rather sit behind if you're Jimmy G, Matt Ryan or freaking Tua? Given that the team that Miami has versus what Indy has.
If I had to pick quarterback-wise who I play with, I'd rather play Jimmy G than Tua. If he'll rather go to Miami because he knows he can win the spot.
The minute that Tua doesn't show that he's got what it takes, you know they're going to turn to Jimmy G and put Jimmy G in there. And
I've gone on record to say this plenty of times already. I don't think Tua is the starter past week 6 this year. I think Teddy Bridgewater comes in.
Year. Oh, they got Teddy back.
I think Teddy Bridgewater comes in
week 6. I give him week 6.
I think Teddy Bridgewater comes in week 7 and at least saves that season because I just don't trust Tua. I never have.
If they're not 500,
I'll take that back. I forgot they had Bridgewater, and I think Bridgewater with that team could do good things.
Exactly why I think if Miami's 3-3 or sitting at 2-4 after 6 weeks, I don't think Tua is starting after week 6.
I think if they're 3-3, Tua stays. Anything lower, no. Because Bridgewater is a great game man. He's a very good game manager.
Mm-hmm.
He'll manage the game very well with that defense. Because they still got a good defense.
That's just crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, so apparently the judge shortens the road for Florida's arbitration ruling. So I wonder if that's going to mean that we're going to get a quicker outcome or a quicker verdict on the Flores situation. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
But I think the Flores, Mike, whatever the Dolphins get, I think is going to really open the NFL. They're going to investigate a lot of teams that didn't hire coaches because they're black and they just gave them interviews. I think that's going to open a lot. They're probably going to go to Washington next because see, my Washington's always the king of controversy up in the NFL, and you got a lot of teams that's probably they're gonna. Because I personally, but I'm gonna tell you about the Rooney Rule. What I don't like, I don't think there should be a Rooney Rule because I think the best people possible, and sometimes the African Americans, the best part. I don't think you should make a rule to force you to get a minority, interview a minority coach. I think that should just be in your will. If you're a team, if you're an owner, I think you should be able to. I want the best coach for my team. That's how most people think. I don't care if they're black or white. I just want to win. Black, white, male, female, gay, straight. I just want to win. That's how you should think. So I think the Rooney Rule is just like, so you're forcing them, and they don't like it anyway, so they're going to find a loophole to go against it. So they're not going to hire a black person. They're going to hire
right.
white female.
We've kind of actually touched on the whole Rooney Rule and the whole, hiring process of coaches when it relates to minorities and things of that nature. I think the Rooney Rule, I think we have seen as shown to be ineffective. I think the New York Giants hiring of Dable really exemplified how the Rooney Rule is not effective and how it's pretty much BS.
I think when the Giants hired Joe Judge instead of Eric Bieniemy, when I realized.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? I think that's just – at first it was kind of like, okay, I get that. Maybe because you can also say with Eric Bieniemy, he hasn't interviewed well with other players or with other teams. And a lot of people may have reservations on Bieniemy because the fact that they still think that Andy Reid is the one calling those plays and things of that nature. So I think Bieniemy is kind of in a rough situation there. I don't really know the full status of how he interviewed to really, have strong claims to that. So
before the 13 seconds, what about Leslie Frazier before the playoffs when he would have Buffalo win the best defense in football? And everybody was talking about Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell got fired when he was 10-6.
I thought Jim Caldwell should have got a job the minute he turned around that damn Detroit franchise, and he's the only one that's done anything positive with that franchise since then. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm all about Caldwell. I think the Texans should have taken a shot at Caldwell as head coach over Lovie Smith, and I was kind of pissed off about that.
I like Lovie. Yeah. I hope Lovie don't think this is 2006 still, but I like Lovie. I always like Lovie.
It's not that I don't like Lovie. I just feel like I feel about Lovie the same way I feel about McCarthy. He's just a little antiquated.
One-dimensional?
And
I think McCarthy's one-dimensional.
I mean, however you want to say it, I just don't think he's relevant to football anymore like McCarthy, I feel, is not relevant to football. I mean, I feel the same way about both. So that's just my thought process on that. I think that there definitely I think what needs to happen when they hire these coaches is they need to have a third-party HR person in there who has no affiliation and let them, be a part of the hiring process. That way you have the ownership,
an NFL representative.
And then, so you had the NFL representative as a third party who's not connected to the NFL, who can say, okay, yes, that was a good hire, or no, they didn't hire him, but there needs to be somebody in there that can keep the process legit and not let it be one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Because honestly, it's just the rules is Brian Flores, I think, should have had a head coaching job.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Flores, out of all Belichick's assistants, he was possibly the best one. I would say
I don't know how you hire Eberflus, and I'm not saying Eberflus is bad, but I don't know how you hire him in Chicago over Brian Flores when you just brought in a quarterback who is a transitional guy who is kind of the quarterback that he was trying to get in Deshaun Watson. Why would you not bring him in and let him develop Justin Fields and get him ready? Now, I will say on the Bears' defense, they did bring in the offensive coordinator, or the quarterback coach for Aaron Rodgers, now the offensive coordinator for the Bears, to develop Fields, which I think is going to be great. And that's actually one of the things I thought that righted that ship. But I thought Brian Flores should have had a good shot at being.
But I think with Flores, if he successfully sued the Dolphins, it's going to open a lot. I think it's going to open a lot more. Because look, for example, the NBA, half of the NBA coaches are black.
Yeah.
The NFL, who is it? I know.
I think it's just three.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, Lovie Smith, and who's the third one?
Robert Saleh is a minority, but
Robert Saleh. Yeah,
and then Ron Rivera also four.
Ron Rivera is minority. I agree with that, but it's like the NFL. It's the same NFL. You can't tell billionaires. NFL, it's old billionaires, 70 to 80 years old, and they're stuck in their ways. They don't want nobody telling them what to do, and I've watched many times. Most people like Shannon Sharp, I've watched him before, and he said NFL owners, some people hire people, be like, it's okay, they're comfortable for me. And sometimes some people just hire people that's their skin color. That can be coincidentally, but there's also some people that just won't hire them because they could probably have 4 or 5 Super Bowls, 3 number 1 defenses, and they won't hire them because they're black. That's what basically Brian Flores is fighting for. Hugh Jackson basically said he's gotten in trouble, and they said something about tanking. Honestly, the one dude I want to hear what Marvin Lewis has to say. I ain't gonna lie, I want to see what Marvin Lewis has to say.
Yeah.
I want to hear all the Jim Caldwells. There's some coaches that legit are better because I know Marvin Lewis is allergic to winning the playoff game, but I'll take him over Adam Gase. Yeah. I would take him over Joe Judge. Matt Rule seems bad to me. I don't care what nobody say. It's just
Matt Rule just kind of follows the rule of typical first-year college to NFL coaches, right? I mean, Pete Carroll come in, stunk it up in New England, and wins the Super Bowl in Seattle. You had Saban come in. Saban was terrible at Miami, but then
he'll never coach here again.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Rule, it's hard to say with him. I think, and then he had Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien was horrible. Bill O'Brien, I think, was the worst of all of them.
No, Bill O'Brien. The Texans were a very good team. No, he was a terrible GM. He was a good
Well,
coach.
Bill O'Brien was the GM, though.
I say he was a terrible GM, but he was a very solid coach for me.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. I always say Bill O'Brien was a solid coach. He was terrible at GM. Worst GM ever. But
yeah, the Texans have
college-
really made a lot of mistakes. I think
when you trade
calling the
DeAndre
right
Hopkins
spots.
for basically a bag of Oreos,
Yeah.
and Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play for you, you get rid of your best lineman. Like it's many reasons why the Texans are the Texans now. Bill O'Brien's a big reason.
I agree, and I think now that they have a new GM and things like that, I think Texans they're a ways away.
They're
but
coming
I think
back.
they can right that ship. I think they can get back. It's going to take them a little time, but I think they're finally in the right direction. Out from underneath Bill O'Brien, things like that. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. But
people on there, I'm not saying like some coach. I ain't gonna lie. There's some coach I get crazy. Like when they hired, I think when they hired Brian Dable, the Giants, I think.
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, he's a better candidate than some African American coaches. I understand that. Like if somebody say, oh, we got Jim Harbaugh, I'm like, okay, I understand that. But there's some candidates I'm like, I'm still figuring out till this day how Cliff Kingsbury got a job. It has to be because he coached Patrick Mahomes. It has to be.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
he did great things at Texas Tech, but
they suck.
And it doesn't mean that the Cardinals are going to be as good,
They sucked at Texas Tech.
He made the bowl game 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay,
Look, it's Texas Tech.
It's not like Mike Leach.
Texas, not A&M. It's Texas Tech. Give Cliff a little bit of leeway there.
And you got to remember the one game that Cliff Kingsbury was there, Patrick Mahomes threw for 898 yards.
I remember that game.
So that alone is why Kingsbury got the job, because you had a quarterback almost throw for 1,000 yards in a game.
Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like Cliff Kingsbury, you got Joe Judge. I understand Matt Patricia. I like Dan Campbell. I don't know why they suck, but I love Dan Campbell. But that's just a guy I would want to play for. What's another coach that I'm thinking? There's a lot of coaches I have a lot to say about. They finally got rid of the one that I always had something to say about. On my podcast, I talk about Matt Nagy every day about how he should have been gone. There's many coaches that got hot, but Matt Nagy, he deserved his hiring.
Did he? He passed on Patrick Mahomes. Did he deserve his hiring?
Let's be real, Stat. We didn't know Patrick Mahomes was going to turn into the Patrick Mahomes we seen.
No, I understand that, but Patrick Mahomes was still more collegially polished than Mitch Trubisky was. A 3-year starter as opposed to Mitch Trubisky, who had one good year at North Carolina State.
You also got to give Patrick Mahomes also has Andy Reid, and he sat behind Alex Smith, which is a solid quarterback his first year. Mitch Trubisky, he was on his own. I think Mitchell Trubisky could have been better if the tables were turned differently for him, because he got the attributes to be a very solid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I just think Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, I think they got in a very good situation because they was on very good teams. And I'm not going to say Joe Flacco was good. I think John Harbaugh is just a very good coach. And I think they changed the system. Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith. I love Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a very good quarterback. He was going to win you games. Alex Smith, quarterback, he was going to be a playoff team. And he learned from Alex Smith a lot of things. And he learned from Andy Reid, which is a Hall of Fame coach, even before the Super Bowl, an offensive genius. And he just took off after that. And then he's linked up with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. You got that whole roster at that point, Kareem Hunt. It was murder she wrote.
But even at that, though, if you're Matt Nagy, how do you take Trubisky over Deshaun Watson when Watson?
All right, now that one, I can give you. Because
they played in the same conference, they played the same competition, and Watson beat Trubisky every single time.
No, and Watson won national championship that year. I understand Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I don't know. It was like the Daniel Jones thing with the Giants. I don't know why you got Daniel Jones as a 6th pick. There's a lot of quarterbacks that it was like, I just don't know how.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield was the first pick in the draft, and I thought he was too small.
He got there because of his Heisman.
I thought Josh Allen was better coming out the draft than
a lot of everybody did, but it was the fact that Josh Allen comes from Wyoming and doesn't play competition on a weekly basis like Mayfield does.
So the draft is a slippery slope, and you don't know who's going to be who. Like Cooper Kupp was like the 7th or 8th, like the 10th or 11th receiver picked. And look at him. Like, it's just.
Well, the thing is, I was one of the few people that thought Cooper Kupp was going to be good because if you look at what he did in college, he had 3 years where he had over 1,700 yards receiving. So doing what he does now does not shock me just because he did that in college.
I knew he was a route technician. I heard about him then. He was a route technician in college. I didn't think he was going to be like this. Break every lead the league in everything receiving wise. Just before preseason start today, you guys, I'm just gonna let y'all know. Bolt up. I'm just gonna let y'all know.
Man, stop with that damn. No, actually, I actually had San Diego doing pretty well in the regular season and postseason. So, hey, man, I think San Diego is going to be that team where on paper, the way they have changed the dynamic of the defense and stuff like that, they look good.
Staley's going to screw up somehow.
I need to see that on the field.
Staley's going to screw up.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying I'm saying it right now. Staley's going to screw up somehow. I didn't want Staley as the coach. I rather would have took Pep Hamilton, our quarterbacks coach, as our coach. I would took a lot of other keys. I would want a coach that's offensive minded because of Justin Herbert. But look how Justin Herbert improved. I'll take a straight defensive savant at coach and a great offensive coordinator. That's what I wanted.
Hey, listen, they said that Herbert's swag and his looseness and comfortability in camp is like they haven't seen before. So, he had a good year last year, so it kind of makes me want to see what they do.
If we don't sign, I'm looking at you dead in the eyes and sad guy. If we don't sign him and he goes somewhere else, I'm going wherever Justin Herbert go. I fell in love with him that bad. I'm not going to allow him. I'm going wherever he goes.
Man, I
think can go to New York.
LA has 2 really solid football teams come out of that city. So I mean,
it's like the Lakers and the Clippers, hopefully. Besides, we're good.
Shut the Clippers up. How about the damn Clippers, man? Shut the damn Clippers.
Besides, we're good.
I heard about the damn Clippers, man.
But you guys, hopefully,
that team. Look, the Clippers are always going to be a team that is a stepchild to the Lakers. I hate to say that, but it just is what it is. They're never going to.
They got to win a finals.
They can't get out from that.
They got to get to a finals first.
I'm saying they got to get.
There you go. There you go. They got to get there first, and I don't think that happens.
Yeah, I think you got 2 injury-prone players.
I will say the Clippers will be better than the Lakers this year, though. I will say that the Clippers will be better than the Lakers.
They were better last year.
They were better than last year. Hell, a lot of teams get better than the damn Lakers last year. The Lakers are flat out garbage, and they're going to be garbage this year too. They haven't done.
Are you a Vikings fan? Are you?
Yeah.
You got hope this year, right?
I think Minnesota's winning that division.
They got rid of Devontae Adams, so y'all got a chance.
They got rid of Zimmer too, who was a cancer, and they brought in Kevin O'Connell, the Rams offensive coordinator from last year, and then they brought in the Rams passing game coordinator to be the Vikings offensive coordinator.
I said that too, Justin. I told Gonzo the other day. I said Minnesota's a dark horse. I think Minnesota could do.
I think they're a dark horse team in NFC. I think their offense can win them a Super Bowl.
Look, they got 2 great wideouts. They got a good quarterback. They got a good running back.
They got a top 5 wideout and a top 5 running back.
I mean,
they got a top 5 wideout, a top 5 running back. Only thing I hate that you guys got rid of Anthony Barr.
Well, I don't know. I'm happy he left. He was injury prone the last 3 years, and then when he did play, he didn't live up to what he was doing pre-contract.
Who you talking about? You said Barr?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cowboys just signed him and picked him up on a 1-year deal. So we'll see. I'm kind of curious, and I'm kind of curious to see. I was actually going to talk about that. I'm kind of curious to see what Barr actually does.
You know what's funny?
With those guys.
Remember all them times the Cowboys kept going to offense? And they're like, we need to get defensive people. And now they keep going to defense, and they need offensive people. Y'all should have signed a wide receiver.
Hey, listen. Hey, look. They did. They signed Washington. But then Washington broke his foot and is out 6 to 10 weeks. So I mean,
you know what's the bad thing is? You might have to go get Antonio Brown and just pray he doesn't do what he did.
And I'm okay with. Look, I said it before.
No, they can go get Odell Beckham.
I'm okay with.
He's hurt too, though.
Antonio Brown
Yeah, but he'll be back at some point.
I'm okay with Antonio Brown on a 1-year prove-it deal. I'm okay.
I ain't gonna lie. I think if if they're in a very because both Antonio Brown and Odell, I think they just had surgery and they're gonna. So I think if the Cowboys is like 4-3 in the middle of the season, they'll go get AB or
Damian Cousins is not the problem in Minnesota. Sorry to tell you that.
Cousins is not the problem.
Hey, this year I think Damian's gonna realize that. I think a lot.
I mean, he should have realized that last year. Cousins had 35 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
He had a very good year last year.
That is far from the problem.
He was a Pro Bowler last year.
He was an MVP candidate the first 10 weeks too.
I think
Kirk Cousins. I'm gonna switch gears for a minute, and we're gonna go to baseball for a second. So, as you know, we just got through the trade deadline. I think the shock value of everything that happened during that trade deadline has kind of sunk in a little bit now that we're solidified. I don't know what y'all think, but I think the Padres won the trade deadline. I think that what they brought in to counteract against LA looks
they
phenomenal.
gave up a lot for Juan Soto.
I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see where Dustin goes with this. But I don't know, man. I mean, hey, look, they brought in. Now they got 4 bats. They got the closer of their choice. They gave up the number 2 closer for the number 1 closer. So I don't know, man. Dustin, that's my trade deadline winner. I think the Astros did good too. We got in some good pieces. We didn't really give up anybody other than Siri, and I think they gave up Odorizzi, but we didn't really give up anybody. I don't know, man. But I got the Padres. I think the most significant upgrade. What do you got, Dustin?
I got the Padres and the Yankees. Yankees figuring out how to stinking get Frankie Montas was huge.
But let me ask you this question now. If you're going to go with the Yankees, they brought in Montas, which I think is good. But then again, you let go of Montgomery and you bring in Bader, who is marginal.
Bader's got postseason success, though. Montgomery doesn't have a ton of that.
But you know what I think hurts the Yankees, though, Dustin? And I'm talking about postseason specifically. And you may have different teams, but my teams, I think the ALCS comes down to Houston Yankees rematch, and the Astros know Montas. We've had good success with Montas, so I think Montas isn't going to help them as much. Not that I'm saying Montgomery did, because we've had good success against Montgomery as well. I just don't know that Montas elevates them any more than what Montgomery did.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, San Diego did win the trade deadline, and the funny thing is, I'm still trying to figure out why the Brewers traded him Josh Hader.
Yeah, I don't get that.
The Brewers are a first-place club in the NL Central, and yet you gave away the best reliever in the National League. Yes, you got a lot back for him, but they released one of the players they got for Hader this morning in Danielson Lamont. So the Brewers really got rid of somebody that they brought in. Not only that, the St. Louis Cardinals got better. So not only did the Brewers weaken their team by giving the Padres Hader, the Cardinals got better, and now I would say the Cardinals are probably the favorites to win the NL Central because of that move.
I agree with that. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that really I just couldn't. But again, they did bring in a good closer in from San Diego. But again, he's not better than what they gave up. So to me, I thought that's why I actually had the Brewers as the losers of the trade deadline because of that trade. So I definitely see what you're saying. Let me ask you, before I go into Deontay and get his take on things, the last question I wanted to ask you, I'm going to ask Deontay the same question, is who do you think now comes out of the NL for the World Series? Clearly, it was the Dodgers that was above everybody else in reproach. But given what San Diego has done, and given the fact that the Mets got DeGrom back, which had a very good outing against the Nationals, and he said he felt really good after that outing, my opinion is the National League comes down to 3 teams: Mets, Padres, Dodgers. Who do you have coming out for the World Series?
I don't think San Diego gets it this year. I think it's more of a next year thing just because they have way too much ground to make up on the Dodgers. I don't think even adding Soto this year is going to help that. I do think the Mets come out of the National League because of the addition of Jacob deGrom. It was essentially acquiring an ace without having to make a deal. He was hurt all year. You get him back, and he looks like he's never missed a start in his first start back. You have Scherzer, you have deGrom, you got Bassett at the top of that rotation, you got Taijuan Walker. They added Michael Givens to that bullpen to put him with Edwin Diaz, and then they have a very underrated offense this year that's actually performed very well. The Mets have to be considered the favorite because in a 4-game series, I don't know if you can beat Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer 4 times.
No, I agree with that, and I actually the fact that you had New York coming to the World Series, that was surprising a little bit to me, but I can see your reasoning behind that. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm pretty sure if you're Jonathan Mathis, you're praying to God that LA comes out of it. But again, I don't understand why the LA brought in the Gallo thing. I thought the Gallo for a mid-level prospect. I don't understand why the LA brought in Gallo. I don't know what they felt like he could bring to that team. You know what I mean?
LA always try to think they're fancier than everybody and try to play a trick.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Deontay, same questions, man. Okay, 2 questions. Number 1, who do you have winning the MLB trade deadline? And number 2, out of the National League now, who do you have going to the World Series?
I think 3 teams did the best that they could, and I liked it, is the Padres, Yankees, and the Astros. I think the Yankees, because the Yankees added to their bullpen. You got to give them that. Add them to their bullpen. You added Scott Efros and Lou Trevino in the bullpen. So it's making your bullpen deeper. And the closer, Clay Holmes, it will be ready. And I think it helps everything. Also, I also think the Padres, because, even though I think Juan Soto, you gave up a lot for Juan Soto, they just added to Juan Soto. They have Josh Hader. And who is the other person they got in the trade with Juan Soto?
Josh Bell.
Yeah, Josh Bell. And we were just talking about Josh Bell the last episode, which he's playing very good. He's playing very solid right now.
He's so like over 300.
Yeah, so Josh Bell is playing very good, and that's one person they're not talking about in the trade. And Houston, I don't know. It's always with Houston. They're always active. I'll give Houston that. Houston's always active. They're always trying to find a way to be better. And honestly, if you really want me to give it still, I told Jay it might be a rematch of last year a while ago, but hearing Stat God 2 and hearing the Dodgers, I love the Dodgers, but he's right about that bullpen. I don't know who could beat the Mets in a 7-game series with that bullpen.
Yeah, I got you. I look at, like I said, I still think the weakness, in my opinion, for the Yankees isn't their positional players. I think, and it's not even their bullpen necessarily. I think the weakness is going to be their starting pitching. Again, they do have Garrett Cole and Cortez that are playing well. But again, Montas, Talion, Gurman, those 3 pitchers, I think they're marginal pitchers. I don't think they're.
But when you look at a playoff series, though, Montas as your 3, Talion as your 4. That's a better 3 than any other team's going to throw out there, and that's a better 4 than any other team's going to throw out there.
Bullshit. I'm gonna tell you right now, Astros are better. ERA, play, Astros are better, and it's not even close.
You gotta look that up. He's looking that up.
The video right off, but it's the truth. It's the truth. There's nobody out there that's got a better front 4 than that. Their damn ERA is at 2.81.
I'm gonna say this though, Jay. I'm gonna be honest. With the Yankees, what they did in the trade deadline, I think they became more neck and neck with you guys though, and they got a chance to beat the Astros in a 7-game series. Adding to their bullpen, making it deeper, and adding more positional players, making everything deeper, helped the Yankees very much a lot. And I understand the Astros, they're always good in October.
Bro, we added Mancini and Vasquez. Vasquez is hitting 279. Mancini is hitting almost 300. I mean, we bolstered what we needed to bolster at, right? Our catcher, in terms of what he was doing at the plate wasn't good, but his defensive game was great. Adding Vasquez and adding.
But didn't y'all lose a center fielder?
Huh?
Didn't y'all lose a center fielder?
We lost Siri. Which if you look at the Astros as a whole, we're already crowded in the outfield as it is. I mean, we got plenty of outfield. So when they let go of Siri, which Siri is he's a marginal player. Siri's a marginal player. So we gave up a marginal player to bring in Mancini at first base, which if you look at Gurriel's hitting about 241. Mancini's hitting about 280. So we actually upgraded there. And Mancini crushed a home run last night to give the Astros the win. So he's already paying dividends. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. I don't think that, and Stack Guy might differ. I don't know, but I don't think the Yankees, like I told Frankie this. I said the Yankees did not add enough in their starting rotation or their outfield that could compete with the Astros. I don't think they did. And if you know that, we Astros have won. Was it? I think we played them. We played 3, 4. We played them 6 times. So I think we won 4 out of 6 against them. 4 out of 6.
So you don't think when Harris and Batter come back, you don't think they'll be their outfield?
I don't think Bader's going to do anything for that team. I don't think Bader's going to do anything for them. I don't think he upgrades them one bit. No, I don't. If anybody would have made a difference for them, it would have been Benintendi that they added. But the Astros pitching staff has owned the Yankees hitting.
I like y'all got Will Smith though. I'll give you that. I like that y'all got Will Smith because he shows in the playoffs.
What Will Smith does. The whole purpose of that trade was the fact that the Astros have 5 starting pitching in their rotation. They're getting ready to get back Lance McCullers off the DL. And Lance McCullers is about a 2.50, 2.60 ERA guy. So that means Urquidy is probably going to get bumped down into the bullpen. And Lance McCullers will then come into the bullpen. So then you're going to have Justin Verlander, who's got about a 1.78 ERA, and is going to get the Cy Young this year. And then behind him, you got Javier.
Who'd you say? I couldn't hear. It broke up.
No, I'm sorry. I said they got Verlander, who is leading the league in ERA.
Yeah, Verlander, that old ass man playing this year.
Bro, he ain't even playing around. He's not playing around. And then you put in Javier behind him, who's got a low mid 2.5, 2.6 ERA. And then you have Garcia and you have Urquidy and so forth behind them. And then you throw in Lance McCullers. You throw in Lance McCullers behind Javier. Now you got 3 guys who are below a 3 on the ERA. I don't think the Yankees have enough. And again, it's going to be conditional that when McCullers comes back, that he's healthy and that his command of his pitches are there. But if those 2 things are there when he comes off the DL, which should be about another month or so from now, you're going to have Javier, Verlander, and McCullers as your starting 3 versus what? Montas? Cortez? Cole? You got to understand, Cole and Montas, the Astros know extremely well. So I don't think that's going to necessarily be a big thing for them. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, but I don't think the Yankees have enough to counter against what the Astros are going to bring. And I do believe those are going to be the 2 guys at the ALCS.
I think everybody believes that, though. I think everybody's been watching this year. Those are the 2 teams in the ALCS.
And it's just because the Twins, Toronto's playing good. Tampa Bay's playing okay. But again, these teams did not advance in the trade deadline, their teams. So again, you got Seattle, who's kind of somewhere in the middle of, they're just they're a good team, but they're, neither, I don't think they're going to beat the Yankees or the Astros if they were to advance to that point. So there's nobody in the AL. I think that challenges the Astros or the Yankees. Again, it's always subject to change, but I don't think so. I think there's going to be more variance or more variable change on the NL side just because of how many teams really improved in the NL.
Well, who do you got making it out the NL?
No, God, man. Nobody's going to beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers actually wind up probably. I think the Dodgers are going to be number 1 in the league going into the playoffs. And I think if they are able to make it to the World Series, they'll have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And I think because they do have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, because of that point, I had the Dodgers going to the World Series. I think to Dustin's point, as much as the Padres have advanced themselves, I don't know if they're quite capable this year to overcome the momentum swing of the Dodgers. I think the Mets and their rotation is really good. So I can see the Mets giving the Dodgers. But in my opinion, unfortunately, and I hate the Dodgers, but I think the Dodgers make it to the World Series. I think their team is pretty complete, and I think they're pretty well balanced. And I think Kershaw, Buehler, and whatnot, and that pitching staff is just incredible.
I can't stand Bueller for some reason.
Yeah, I can't either, but I think that's.
I love Kershaw. I think Kershaw is probably one of the most talented pitchers we've seen in this generation. That's me. I love Kershaw. It's just the playoffs never show it for him.
Yeah.
He's always good game one. Then,
but man, when you talk about a lot of offloading at the deadline, let's talk about losers for a minute.
Brewers.
I was actually not going to talk about this. I was actually going to give this as an exclusive on Unscripted tonight, but I'm going to throw a little nugget. I think this will be the last topic we talk about, and then we'll go into some final thoughts, and then we'll get on out of here for the rest of the day. But I think the biggest loser, in my opinion, was the Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
I think they could have made the trade they made is okay. The problem I have with it is they gave up more in that trade than what they had to, meaning that you give up Josh Bell along with Soto. That's a big give up for what you got in return, and the few prospects you got in return, I think was a big give up. I think you could have went with Corbin, who is not as good, and I think you could have gone. And I think you could have thrown in Nelson Cruz's contract that you don't necessarily need. I think you could have got rid of a lot of that cap space and really helped yourself out financially, and then still kept Josh Bell as part of your team, who's young and has a long history. So I think the reason why the Nationals are the biggest losers is because they gave up more than what they had to. That Padres team would have been happy to take Cruz and Corbin off your hands with Soto and leave you Bell. They'd have been happy to do that. You'd have been just fine. Matter of fact, you would have came out extremely well. But the fact that you gave up Bell when you didn't need to, I think really hurts you. Stat guy?
I didn't hear you. I just want to repeat what you said.
No, I was talking about the reason why I had the Nationals being the loser at the deadline was because of the fact that they gave up more than what they had to with the Juan Soto. I think that the Padres would have been happy to take Corbin.
No, not Corbin. Not Corbin.
I think so. You don't think so? With Juan Soto, which is really their prized possession? Because I think they do. I think they take Nelson Cruz. I think they take Corbin. And I think they take Juan Soto for the prospects they gave up. And I don't think Bell necessarily had to leave that team. I think that the fact that they gave up Bell, they gave up more than what they had to. And I think that's why I called them the losers.
When it comes to Corbin, though, Corbin signed that 6-year, $140 million contract 2 years ago because he had a good run with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Right.
The last 2 years with the Washington Nationals, he's 13-30 with a 4.97 ERA.
Right.
He's got the most losses in Major League Baseball the last 2 years. And this season's not even done yet. He's going to be a 20-loss pitcher this year. San Diego's not taking that on, especially when they're in a playoff hunt, because you have nowhere to put him. You're not putting him in the rotation because your rotation has Yu Darvish, it has Joe Musgrove, it has Blake Snell, it has Clevenger, and has got a couple other arms. So you're not going to be putting him in the starting rotation, and you're not going to pay a guy $24 million to come out of the bullpen.
I get your point, and I'm not saying that Corbin is good. Matter of fact, that actually proves my point. Why I think they should have given up Corbin is because of the fact that he's not playing good. I think, in my opinion, I think San Diego wanted him bad enough. I think they take it on. I think they find a way to either move him or do something with him. But I understand your point of view as well. So I'm not going to discredit your point of view. I guess in my opinion is I'm going to offer up the Corbin trade before I offer up the Josh Bell trade in hopes that they'll bite on it. And if they don't bite on it, okay, maybe then I give up a Josh Bell if I felt like that's the way I needed to go. But the big Bell right off the initial, maybe I think I throw out that offer first, see if they bite. And if they don't bite, okay, I can always go back and ratify it if I feel like I need to. But I think to give him up right off the get-go, they didn't even find out.
But you know why they gave up Josh Bell, correct?
I don't know all the intricacies of that, no.
He's a free agent after this year.
Well, I knew he was a free agent, but they could always resign him.
That's what I'm saying, though. He's not going to resign with Washington after this year because Washington's in rebuild mode. They came from Pittsburgh, who's been in rebuild mode for a gazillion years. So he's not going to re-sign with a team that's still going through a rebuild mode. That's why it made sense to trade Josh Bell, because now you're trading him to a contender where if he wants to re-sign with San Diego, which now that San Diego got rid of Eric Hosmer, there's a very good chance that Josh Bell does re-sign an extension with San Diego next year versus Patrick Corbin still got 5 years left on his contract.
So here's my point. They got they have 4 prospects, right, in return for that trade.
Mhm.
I think they get those 4. I think they get those 4 prospects, regardless who they put in there with one. So my point is this: they gave up Josh Bell, but like I guess to your point, because he wasn't going to resign with them, but at the same time they didn't get anything back for him either. So they lose in that trade no matter what with Josh Bell because they didn't get anything for him.
Yeah, they are.
They got rid of, I guess, maybe the last part of that contract.
I think they're banking on when Strasburg returns next year that Patrick Corbin will at least be a shell of his old self. Just because he's not an ace and he's forced to be in an ace role this year because they don't have Scherzer and they don't have Strasburg. Patrick Corbin's always been a number 2, number 3 at best for most of his career. That's why he was so successful in Arizona, because as a number 3, he was better than almost every other number 3 out there. Now he's pitching in the ace role. He's not better than hardly any aces out there. He needs to be in that number 2, number 3 role where you're going to be just as good, if not better, than most of the number 2s or the number 3s you face.
I think they.
Hold on, Deontay. So you kind of heard what stat guy said, and I don't disagree with stat guy. My position, and I guess the original position is the fact that I feel like Washington gave up more than what they got in return. Is really the point I'm making, and I don't know, man. What do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think they gave up more in return. I think the trade is. I wouldn't have traded both Josh Bell and Juan Soto. I would have just traded one and the other because I think you could have got a lot. Well, Juan Soto, you could have got a lot of that. Still, you would have Juan Soto. You probably wouldn't got 2 or 3 more positional prospects. I think you wouldn't do that. But my thing is, I think there's 2 losers. I think it's the Milwaukee Brewers and I think it's the Washington Nationals. Milwaukee Brewers, I say you got rid of Josh. You got rid of you got rid of Hader and also adding people, and you added some people, but you also ain't add people in your offense.
No,
That's also true too. That had the Cubs.
And I'm a Cubs fan. And I'm saying the same damn thing.
man, the poor.
How the heck you have Wilson Contreras? You don't get an extension done this offseason. You basically tell him all year long that you're going to trade him at the deadline, and yet you can't make a trade.
Right.
I know they had a high asking price on him, which it is what it is. But if nobody's biting on that asking price, you have to adjust your asking price. And the sole purpose that you told him pretty much from day one that you were going to trade him this year and you don't get rid of him, you're not even going to have a chance to re-sign him next year because he probably hates your guts right now at this point.
I mean, hey, that's a possibility. I see that. I understand what you're saying. All right, folks, we're going to move into the last portion of this show called Final Thoughts. He said, yeah, man. Hey,
well, I'm a Cubs fan, and I'm saying that as much as I did not want to see him traded, I did at the same time because I knew they were actually going to be able to get something back for him.
I still think the Brewers are because they were one of the best teams in baseball. You got rid of Hader, and you didn't add anything to your offense.
No, I agree. I think the Brewers were rough. I think the Cubs were rough. I think
Cubs
the
were bad.
Reds are just a team with no direction, like the Baltimore.
No, they have a direction. They're trying to be the new version of the Baltimore Orioles.
Exactly. I put the Reds and the Orioles. I lump them dudes in the same damn thing. And poor Gonzo, he's in the middle. Gonzo's dad's now going to be a Dodgers fan because of it. So lots of implications are going throughout the world. We're going to move into final thoughts real quick, and then we're going to get out of here. Dustin,
let's pray for Gonzo about his Reds.
Yes, let's. Dustin, final thoughts, brother.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the interview. I got to see if I come back to me quick because I got to find the guy's name. I don't want to give out the wrong name.
Deontay, final thoughts.
So I hope we're all ready for Deshaun Watson to get the whole year. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Same time, same damn channel. All right, while Dustin contemplates finding this video that he's looking for.
It's not a video. It's the guy's name. I just don't want to give out the guy's name. And you say the wrong name. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen the recent interview on TMZ about Mason Gordon. Any of you know who Mason Gordon is?
No.
I don't.
Mason Gordon was the original creator of Slam Ball back in 2002, 2003.
Oh, it's coming back.
Yep, he's announced that it's coming back in 2023 for the 20-year anniversary of when it first debuted.
It's very
Slam
interesting.
ball. I'm gonna have to go Google this.
You've never seen slam ball, Jay?
No,
It was
honest,
basketball. It was basketball with
On a
hockey pads,
trampoline.
and they played on trampolines.
Oh, that's weird.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it looked fun back then.
Kenny Anderson of the NBA used to play with the Philadelphia Steel when they were in the slam ball. So the NBA had Kenny Anderson come from that league. They had John Starks in the NBA come from that league. He was on the Las Vegas Mayhem team or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to go. I'm gonna Google this here in a minute and get more up to speed with what we're talking about with slam ball. I think maybe I might be able to do it with my bat. No, I can't do that with my bat. I'll never make it. I'll be probably on a stretcher within the first 2 seconds. But sounds very interesting to me. All right, man. Hey, look, it's been another great day. My final thoughts are: wow, Yankees are in second, Dodgers are in first, Astros are pulling up a third place. It's going to be interesting to see how this plans out. My final thoughts are, again, hey, I just want to say, everybody, be safe, be cool. And my thought process to Joe Biden is do what's presidential. Don't do anything because you feel pressured by any group to do something. Do what you feel is in the best interest of every American on planet Earth. And on that note, I'm going to say good night. And don't forget, Unscripted, my friends. Unscripted will be on tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be talking all kinds of training camp updates and pretty much whatever else we can throw in there. So 7 p.m. Eastern, Unscripted. Until next time, it's been your boy Jay McLovin, Stat Guy, and Deontay Kelly saying see you later.
See y'all.
Later.